I am nothing like the character that I play. But when I put on the makeup and I get in ready for the show and I realize what songs we're doing, I can't help it. I'm 25 years old again, and I have all the energy of a 25-year-old up there. By the time the show's over, the band is exhausted, and I'm fine. I mean, I'm still ready to go, you know. Of course, I never smoked cigarettes, and I think that has a lot to do with it. I quit drinking 30 years ago. I don't take drugs. So I think I'm kind of like regressing. I think physically I'm in better shape now than I was when I was 30 years old. You know, I get up and I walk around all day in Zurich. I'll probably walk 5 hours today, and I'll get up on stage tonight and do 2 hour or hour and a half, full out, 28 songs, and feel great. You know, so, and I'm not a health freak at all. I mean, I'm not a guy sitting around eating vegetables and tofu and stuff. I just have that much energy, and I don't think I ever get tired of playing the character of Alice. It's fun to play Alice.
I don't know if you know, I suppose you know G.B. Shaw, the
Yes.
British writer, once wrote, "The key to success is to offend the biggest number of people." Do you agree with that? Did you have ever that in mind back then or sometime?
I think that there's a degree of, if to keep interest, you have to, art is all about being provocative. You know, a lot of times I go to art, I was an art major in school, and my wife and I will go to an art museum, and she'll say, "Why is that good? Why is that painting good?" And I'll say, how does it affect you? And she said, "I don't know, it just feels angry to me." And I said, "Okay, then it's provocative. Then it's saying something to you. It's evoking an emotion from you." Mm-hmm. Sometimes music is one of those things where I can get people laughing, I can get people crying, I can get people scared, I can get people shocked, I can get people feeling sad for me. You know, if you can affect all the emotions with music and with visuals on stage, then that's good theater. I think that's really good theater. You know, have you ever walked out of a movie and just said, "That's the funniest movie I ever saw. It was great to laugh that much." Or you walked out of a movie and went, "That was the scariest movie I ever saw." Or that was profoundly, you know, touching, that movie was. Well, that's what a good movie is. The worst thing in the world is a movie that doesn't do anything, where you sit there at the end of the movie and you go, "So what?" It's the same with art. If you go in and you look at a painting and go, or you go to see a play and you go, "I didn't get anything." The way to get to people is to provoke them. Either make them think, force them to actually use their brain. And I always used to say, I don't care what reaction I get, as long as I get a reaction. Because that means I'm doing my job. There's probably people out there that laugh when they're supposed to be crying and are shocked when they're not supposed to be shocked. I mean, there's always those few people that react differently to everything. I see it when they hang me. You know, it's a kind of a very melancholy moment on stage, because I've got the audience kind of feeling sorry for me. Mm-hmm. Boom, they hang me, and I'll hear people just laughing their heads off, you know, and I'll go, "What's an interesting reaction to that?" Or when they got my head chopped off, some people go, "Oh!" Other people go, "Ah!" Other people go, "Oh!" You know, so I don't care what the reaction is, as long as I get a reaction.
Another quote, if you don't mind, German philosopher Nietzsche once said, "Without music, life would be a mistake."
I don't think music is such a great gift from God, you know, because it's something that you can't explain. You know, to try to explain music. So, somebody said talking about music is like dancing about architecture. You know, because sometimes there's no words. I'll hear a Beatles song for the first time, like when Sgt. Pepper first came out. And I would hear one of the songs and I would go, and I couldn't put into words what I thought about that song, because it affected me a lot of different ways. And somebody said, "Well, what did you think about that song?" And I go, I don't know, but I'm certainly glad the Beatles wrote that song, A Day in the Life, a song like A Day in the Life. You know, it just profoundly strikes you somewhere, and it touches you in the heart. It touches you emotionally, spiritually. You know, songs can take you anywhere. They can make you angry. You know, I've heard songs that actually made me angry. You know, and then I've heard songs that I just laughed my head off at and said, what a great idea, what a great lyric that was. You know, so music is almost hard to talk about. You know, it's easier to sit down at a piano and say, and just start playing a song and putting a lyric to it. When you can marry a lyric to a set of chords and make them say the same thing, that's when you have a great song. That's what makes guys like Burt Bacharach so great. And, you know, Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, Paul Simon and Paul McCartney and these guys, they can marry that lyric to the music. Gershwin, any of the guys that wrote the old Broadway shows, you know, those songs were hits not just because it was a catchy tune. It was a hit because that song and that lyric did something to you, you know, and it's unexplainable, you know.
One of my favorite songs of yours is the Saga of Jesse James.
Oh, yeah.
I just love that one. I can't explain why.
It was a tribute to Johnny Cash, because Johnny Cash had just died, and I said, you know, it would be great if we kind of wrote a song and I sing it like Johnny Cash, and I thought, well, he wrote this song, A Boy Named Sue, you know, and Alice Cooper, A Boy Named Sue. People will always kind of connect those two songs, and so I said, well, why don't we write a song about a truck driver who's a transvestite. And he stops at a McDonald's in his sister's wedding gown, you know, and they gang up on him, pulls a gun out, kills everybody, and he goes to jail, you know, and now he's happy because now he's in jail, a transvestite in jail, and he's going to make somebody a hell of a wife, you know. I said, that's a funny idea for a song, and when we wrote it, it just fell into place. It was one of those lyrics that just fell, that every time we would write the lyric, the story would just keep unfolding.
Your albums, especially on the concept albums, there's always this idea of a battle between good and evil.
Yeah.
On Along Came a Spider, it's the case too.
Well, he breaks so many rules for a serial killer. He's a serial killer. And when I'm trying to say who is the ultimate serial killer, well, you've got to think Hannibal Lecter is probably the classic character. He would be the epitome of the serial killer because he was so smart. He had everybody. He was so brilliant. Well, this guy starts out being like that. You know, he's going to take 8 legs from 8 different victims, and he's going to wrap the rest of the body in silk like a spider would, you know. And then the FBI keeps putting it together, 8 legs, spider has 8 legs. The bodies are wrapped in silk. That's what a spider would do. And so the whole thing starts unfolding. Now, the problem is he falls in love with the 8th victim, and he can't kill her. So now, it's the worst thing that can happen to a serial killer, is that because now he can't kill the one person that can turn him in. Because he's in love with her. And he can't get the 8th leg. He can't finish the puzzle.
Finish the work.
Yeah. And then he has, on top of it, in the middle of everything, he has a religious epiphany. Right in the middle of sawing an arm off or a leg off, he goes, what if I'm wrong? I don't think Hannibal Lecter ever once thought to himself, what if I'm wrong? His ego was always saying, I am God, so I am always right. This guy goes, what if I'm wrong? What if all this is wrong? Is there any salvation for me? You know, which is like something that a serial killer cannot let that happen, because he immediately goes, well, I may be wrong. You know, and so all of a sudden now he's totally in turmoil. The great thing about that album is that it starts out with the CSI girl saying, "We found his diary today," and you know, and talking about all these murders, and she says, "But there's just one thing wrong," and then the album starts. Doesn't tell you what that one thing is. At the end of the album, you hear him talking and saying, "They found my diary today," and it couldn't have been us because we've been in this insane asylum for 28 years. He's talking to his pet spider, you know. He's wrapped up in a, you know, and so it leaves the audience with one of two conclusions. Either all of this stuff in his diary only happened in here and never really did happen, or there's another killer. He's not the one. So I left the audience with that. You know, let them kind of sit there and go, "Well, which one is it?" And I go, you know, I love leaving the audience with the idea that they don't know what the ending of that is. Now, I've written another album called The Night Shift. That's part 2.
Okay.
And it kind of does let you in on who he is and what happens. But that album won't be out for 3 years, so.
Because the audience doesn't like usually when it's too open, when it's not clear in the end.
Yeah, but it's provocative though. You know, I like the idea that I'll see a movie and at the end I'll go, "What? Oh, I never thought of that. They got me." You know, like The Sixth Sense.
Yes.
You know, you went, "What do you mean
suspense.
he's dead?" And then you go back and watch it and you realize he was never talking to anybody. You know, nobody ever heard him.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's kind of the idea behind Along Came a Spider.
How would you describe yourself as Mr. Fournier in 5 words, and how would you describe Alice in 5 words?
Christian, dad, husband, absurd, stress-free. Now, Alice?
That was Alice.
No, that was me. That was me.
Ah, okay.
Alice, on the other hand, dark, funny, unpredictable, I have to say witty, surprises. He surprises. Well, I think the only thing I have in common with Alice is our sense of humor. We both have the same dark sense of humor. But other than that, I don't really have anything else. You know, I mean, Alice would never sign an autograph or take a picture. Whereas if I'm on the street here in Zurich, I probably signed 50 autographs today and took pictures with everybody. I mean, I never say no to a picture or an autograph. But Alice, I don't know. I don't know if he would. He'd probably chase you around with a butcher knife.